Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to do a demo and overview of LibreTranslate. And LibreTranslate is an open source alternative to Google Translate. You can run this on your own computer or on a server. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can run it on a server and even have your own website using LibreTranslate. And you can see it kind of looks like Google Translate, but it's really cool in that you also can access it with an API. So you can use the website like this. For example, I want to learn a language, but by default, let's go back to here. So by default, it will translate into English and it will say auto detect the language. But let's say you want to translate from English to another, you can choose another like this. For example, Spanish, you can say I like to eat blueberries. Me gusta comer arándanos. That's blueberries. So this is very, very useful. And again, I'm going to show you how to do it. And the real power is being able to use this. And you can do many, many translations quickly. And basically, the actual output you'll get with the API is this would be basically the final answer. And you can also just use LibreTranslate.com to translate lots of things. But I think it's very cool that you can run it on your own and run it on a server. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to run it on a VPS. And note that there's also a GitHub page. You can check this out. But in this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to do. Okay, so let's get started. For this video, I'm going to assume we're going to use DigitalOcean, and DigitalOcean is a website that has many different things, but specifically what I'm using it for is a VPS. And once you make an account, I'm going to show you what an account looks like. Okay, so this is one of my DigitalOcean accounts, and basically this is what the main layout looks like. And what we're going to end up doing is you're going to go to Manage, and then you're going to choose Droplets. Okay, Droplets are basically DigitalOcean's version of the VPS. And what you're going to do is you're going to create Droplet. So click on the blue button, Create Droplet. And from here, you have a lot of different options, different countries and different cities and so on. And let's say, for example, I wanted to choose Amsterdam. I can do that. And they actually have different data centers you can choose. Typically, in the past, I've used Singapore, I've used US, and I think I've used Amsterdam before and maybe Toronto. But yeah, most of these should be pretty good. But anyway, it doesn't really matter what you choose, but ideally choose one that is closer to where you live. Okay, so now for the choice of operating system, I'm going to choose Ubuntu, and I'm going to choose one of the long-term service LTS ones. I think this one is the best. I would always go with an LTS. And in terms of the actual specs, I personally use this on my own. I have one VPS that uses this and another VPS that has different plans. If you want to, you can try different ones. You know, they have cheaper options. Maybe you want to go with the cheapest one to get started. But honestly, I would highly recommend you get at least 2 gigabytes because you might run into problems if you don't. So I'm going to use this just for this video. I'm going to have it running, and then later I'll delete this VPS. But anyway, it doesn't really matter what you choose, but I think this is a good layout, $28 a month. But if you want to go with a cheaper option, you can try that. But I would recommend going with at least a 2 gigabyte RAM, 2 gigabytes of memory. And one of the things I really like about these is they come with NVMe SSDs, and those are really, really fast. So anyway, that's what I'm going to choose. And then what you're going to end up doing is putting in a password, and then you can give your droplet a name, and then you would create it. So I'm going to put in a password, and then what I'm going to do is create Droplet. Okay, so I'm going to put my password in here, and then I have the option to create Droplet, and I'm going to click on Create Droplet. Okay, so the Droplet is being created. It'll be a few seconds before it gets done. Okay, so the Droplet's been created, and I'm actually using this IP address. So what you're going to do is you're going to copy the IP address. And if you want to support me for this video, I'm going to go in depth, and this video is taking me a lot of time and effort to make. If you want to support me, you can make a DigitalOcean account with my link, watsontechworld.com/DigitalOcean. There's also a QR code here. And you'll get, and if you use that link, you'll get $200 credit for free for the first 60 days. And so it's free to sign up, and you'll get $200 for free for 60 days. And then after 60 days, the credit would expire, I think. So I would really appreciate it if you could use my link here to sign up for DigitalOcean. Okay, now let's get started with the tutorial. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you have copied down the IP address. Okay, so for this video, I'm going to try my best to make this easy to see, and I'll also include an article along with this video so you can work along with it, and you can read the article, and so I'll have an article and this video. Okay, so we no longer need to be logged in to DigitalOcean, and I'll just do this here in the in this document. So we copied the IP address from DigitalOcean, and now what we're going to do is we're going to SSH into it. So what we're going to do is something like, we're going to type SSH root at the IP address, and your IPS will likely be different. Okay, so I decided that I'm going to use VS Code because it's going to be easier to show the code rather than in a document. Okay, so I'm going to copy this code and then open a terminal. So I'm just going to put the code in there like that. And then if you're using Windows or another operating system, you can use something called PuTTY, P-U-T-T-Y. Right now I'm using Linux, and I'm using, most Linux distros would have SSH already installed. Okay, so once you enter here, what you're going to do is you're going to put in your password. Okay, so you're logged in now, and what you're going to do for the first thing is we're going to update the server, and go here. So we're logged into the VPS. And what we're going to do is we're going to update the server. So we're going to do this. You can copy this command, apt update and apt upgrade -y. That means update and upgrade. And this might take a few seconds or maybe more than a minute. I'm going to come back here when this is done, but I'll just show you here. This is the beginning. So it's going to download a lot of code, and then it's going to update a lot, and I'll come back when it's done. Okay, and you might see questions like this. I would just say hit enter. So accept the default options, and again, I'll come back when this is done. Okay, so this is done now. It took, I think, more than a minute. And anyway, so it just updated. I'm going to clear. I'm going to type Control L. That clears the screen. So I've just updated it. And now what I want to do is I want to make a new user. So we're going to do make a new username. And I'm going to use a command like this. So add user, and I'm actually going to use the username called example username. This is because we're logged in as root, and root can be dangerous to do things in. Okay, so first what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the example user. And you can put whatever password you want in, but I recommend, you might want to have it be different than root, or you can have it the same. Honestly, it doesn't really matter as long as it's a good password, but choose whatever you like. So I just put the password in, put it again in, and all this stuff you can just hit enter, enter, enter. You can just go to the default. So we've just made a new user, And importantly, we have a new step, which is we need to add it to sudo. And what adding to sudo means is it has the right to install software and do supervisor tasks. So what you're going to do is you're going to type user mod. Okay, so we're going to do add to sudo, and we're going to change the example username to the username that you want. And then what this command is going to do is this is going to add it to the so it can install things and do other things that administrators can do. Okay, so we're going to add this here, so it's going to add to sudo. And now what I'm going to do is we're going to reboot. So the rebooting will set up, because we just updated the system, and also we're going to now log in via the new login. So you're going to do reboot now. Type in reboot now. Reboot now. So rebooting, and then you'll see that it says connection is closed, and later I'm going to log in with the new username. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to log in as the new user, and you should change the IP address to based on the one that DigitalOcean gave you. And I'm going to log in now with my new username and password, just like I logged in with root. So you can see here I'm trying to log in with the new username, and I'm just going to type in the password. Okay, so here I'm logged in with the new username, and let's see here, I'm logged in, and so now we're going to set up LibreTranslate, and I'm going to give you all these steps here. Okay, so we're going to install LibreTranslate with something called pipx, but later you might want to use something called pip. I'm going to use this command sudo apt install pipx python and then have a space python3-pip. So like this, apt install pipx python3-pip, sudo apt install pipx python3-pip, and then you're going to type in your password. And then what this is going to do is like this. You have the options to do this, and what you're going to do is type yes, that's Y. And I'll come back in a moment when this is all installed. Okay, so this is finished setting up pipx and pip. It had to download a lot and install a lot, but it was somewhat quick. And then what I want to actually try is to show you how much LibreTranslate, unfortunately it takes a lot of data. It might take more than 10 gigabytes of data to set up everything. So I'll just show you here. Let's start. This is optional, but I just wanted to show how much data it takes, how much space to install everything. Okay, so starting out, it's currently using 2.3 gigabytes for all this, the main install. And later on, I'll show you that it takes a lot more. And this is an example output here. I'm going to comment this out. Again, you can skip all this if you don't want to do this, but I'm going to move on here. Okay. Now this step is probably one of the most important in all. This is the one that literally installs LibreTranslate. And it is important that you do not use sudo. So do not use sudo. This is because if you use sudo, it's going to install it for the root, and I want to install it just for this username. So we're going to use this command in the terminal, pipx install LibreTranslate. So like this, pipx install LibreTranslate. And this is going to take a few moments, and I'll come back when it's done, but this is going to download lots and lots of different packages, and it might take several gigabytes. I'll come back in a few moments. Okay, so this is installed now. You can see here it says installed LibreTranslate. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to type these commands pipx and ensure a pipx ensure path and source, and then tilde / .bash rc. And what these do is basically set up LibreTranslate to be used. And so the command, we'll use later the command LibreTranslate, and that will work once we have these two commands. So pipx ensure path, and then this command, and I'll put it in the terminal here. Okay, so again, I typed pipx ensure path, and then this command, they will set up the command. So now the command LibreTranslate will work. And just to show you how much space has been used, I'm going to type this command one more time. df space -h and then space /. Okay, so we have this. This is the output. And notice that before 2.3 gigabytes were used, and now 11 gigabytes are used. So that's a huge amount of data that was basically used, and that's almost 9 gigabytes. More than 8 gigabytes of space were used. So this does take quite a lot of data to download. But one advantage of DigitalOcean is it's super fast. But one thing I would say about this, though, is that when we do pipx, this installs a lot of packages, but if you use Python a lot, some of the packages might be the same, and you use pipx. Okay, so now we're going to run LibreTranslate for the first time, and you're just literally going to type the command LibreTranslate. So here, again, I just type the command LibreTranslate. And I've already showed you before how much space was before. And this is going to download some AI models, and it's quite a lot of data it's going to also have to download. So let's first run this. So LibreTranslate is running. Let's see here, it's updating language models, found 92 models. Now, there's probably a way to download just the models you're interested in, but this is going to download basically all of the models. You can see it's got Albanian to English, Arabic to English, and more. And this really does, it downloads many different, I think this is going to be several gigabytes worth of data to download. And so this is going to take a few moments, and I'll come back when it's done. Okay, so it has now downloaded all of the models, and it's going to look like this. You can actually run it on your own computer. If it's on your own computer, you can just open this in the URL, 127.0.0.1, and then open colon port 5000, but it's not going to work here because this is on a remote computer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close LibreOffice. So you're going to type Control-C or just something like that. And now I'm going to show you a specific command. Before I do, I'm going to do this one more time just to show you how much space has been used. And note that 19 gigabytes are being used, and it was originally, how much was it originally? Originally 2.3, so more than 16 gigabytes had to be downloaded and used for setting up the packages and LibreTranslate. So it's a lot of data, but I think it'll be worth it because I think LibreTranslate is very good. Okay, so now what we're going to run is this command, LibreTranslate, and then space -- host 0.0.0 and space -- port 5000. What this is going to do is basically what this does is it allows us to access it from the internet, from the outside, and we're telling it to use port 5000. So basically what we're going to end up being able to do is we can go to our IP address in the browser, for example, like this, HTTP, and then 5000. So first we're going to run this command, and then we're going to open up a browser, and then we can see it running on our own computer. So I'm going to copy this command. And again, it's LibreTranslate -- host 0.0.0 - port 5000. You don't really need to understand everything about this. You just be able to copy and type this in. And once we run it, we already ran LibreTranslate before, so it already has all the AI models, and Now it says it's running on this. So as I mentioned before, we can just go to our IP address, whatever your IP address for your VPS is, and then bar 5000, and I'm going to open up a browser and do that right now. Okay, so I have a browser open, and I'm going to open this right now. So this is the server that I'm running. This is from the VPS that I'm running. It's got LibreTranslate running, and this is fantastic. So again, by default, it translates into English, but you can translate it into from English into another. For example, let's say I have 2 dogs and I like to go for a walk with my dogs. For example, tengo 2 perros y me gusta ir a caminar con mis perros. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So yeah, so I'm learning Spanish. I might have just said that incorrectly, but LibreTranslate is very cool. So now I have a server where I can run this on my own computer, and again, you still have LibreTranslate.com, but the real power comes in when we can use this API. And I'm going to show you, if you know JavaScript, you can use this in a website, but I'm going to show you using Python. Okay, so again, I'll put this in an article for you, but and I'm going to try to make this so that you don't actually need to understand this code. You just need to be able to edit it. So what I have is I have these 2 lines. These import some code to do some requests with. Basically, it allows us to talk with the server we've just set up. And then JSON this is a package that allows us to read and properly parse the output that we get from talking with the server. The URL is the one that we just set up, which in my case it was this, but you can change to whatever IP address. And then we've got bar 5000, and then I added the /translate here. So I'll delete this here. So your URL will be like this, and you're just going to need to change this part. And the headers is this, and then I'll delete this here. These are, going back to the website, these are all the parameters you can see on the main website. You see it's got a body, it's got Q, this is the original text you want translated, source is the source language, target is the target language to translate into. The format, I'm not sure exactly, maybe you've got different types of text you can use. Alternatives, these are the alternative translations. And then this main one, translated text, this is the main translation it's going to use, and that's what it was up there. And then that's for JavaScript, but again, I'm going back to Python. Okay, so I'm going to use this text here. So again, this is the URL, these are the headers, this is the data dictionary, and we're going to use Python to send this data to the website, and then we're going to get a response. So I'll show you what this looks like. And here, note that the server is running. We're going to open a new terminal to do this. Okay, so I have a new terminal open. Make sure you don't close this terminal. You can move it to another side, so I'll move it away. And we're just going to run this here. And right now, and then open to a directory where you can do some work. Okay, so I've just changed to a directory where I can do some work. And what you're going to do is you're going to open Python 3, and we're going to run this code interactively. So again, we'll go back here, copy this code, and then we'll paste it into the terminal we just had. So if the Q is the original source, and that's what's going to be translated. Okay, here, we'll try this again. We just sent it, and it gave the response of Me gusta comer arándanos. And I think that's a good translation. Okay, so that was a this is more of the basic level that you can do. This is great, but the real power comes in when you're able to basically translate multiple different things. And you could, for example, translate dozens or hundreds of things from a CSV file and update a CSV file. But again, what this does is requests. This is a way to communicate with the server. JSON, this is a way to parse the data. And then print, this prints the output that we got from this command. And I'm going to continue this video in a different, and I'm going to keep going on with this. Continuing on. So I've just showed you some basic Python you can use. And now let's do something even more useful, which is to make a website now. So in my case, I had this IP address open, and okay, this is the website, the domain. This actually not the domain, it's just the IP address. And I'm going to close the LibreOffice command in the terminal. So I've been running the server, and now I'm going to close it. I'm going to press Control-C twice. So now the server for LibreTranslate is closed. Okay, now like I mentioned, now we're going to do something much more useful than just having to go to an IP address. Now we're going to set up a website. I'm going to use a subdomain, but you can actually just use the main domain. I'm going to set up a website for LibreTranslate_subdomain.exampleeshop.com. And there's a few steps for this to work, and I'll walk you through all of them. So the first thing is we're going to need to update, and then we're going to need to install Nginx. And I'm going to use a text editor called Nano. It's good for beginners. I generally prefer Vim, but you can use whichever text editor you want. In this, we're going to edit a few configuration files. So we'll open up the terminal and do these two commands: update and then install Nginx. Okay, so we're going to run those two commands right now: sudo apt update and then sudo apt install Nginx. And you can remove Vim if you don't want to install Vim. And I said -y. That means do everything. Okay, so now it's going to update and then install. This might take a few moments, so I'll come back when it's done. So Nginx is now installed. It also installed Vim. And then what we need to do is to create a configuration file, and it's specifically going to be in this location. In general, the Nginx, the configuration file, will be the exact name of the domain or subdomain that you want, and we're going to do it in /etc/nginx/sites-available, and then this happens to be the full subdomain, LibreTranslate_subdomain.exampleeshop.com. So I'm going to do that here in Nano. So I've got Nano. I'm going to do this in Nano. And I'm going to show you the text now. So again, I'll include an article for this, but you would just need to copy this and paste it into Nginx. And the main thing that you would need to edit is this. So based on which subdomain or domain you have, you would mainly just change that. So I'm going to copy this whole thing into the text editor. Okay, now the text editor is here, and I'm just going to paste. Okay, so this is the text for Nginx. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it. So I'm going to do Control-O, write out, and hit Enter, and then exit, Control-X. Okay. And then next we need to do something. We need to link this file to this folder /enabled. If you've never used Nginx, anyway, it's just something that you have to do. You have to create a symbolic link. And again, I'll include this in the article so you can just copy it. And again, the main thing you would change is most likely you're not going to have LibreTranslate _subdomain.exampleeshop.com. You're going to put your own domain or subdomain there. But the command is mostly going to be the same. So I'm going to do that here. So you're linking it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to test Nginx with sudo nginx-t, like that. Okay, so far it doesn't give any errors, so it seems to be okay. And then we're going to do sudo system control reload Nginx. Okay, there's different ways to do this, but this is one of the more common ways. So we're going to restart Nginx. We need to do that in order to make sure the configuration file's set up, and then so the website will work. Okay, good. We didn't get any errors. That's fantastic. Okay, next we need to set up an A record with your domain registrar. So whichever it is, I happen to have technically Cloudflare is just the one hosting my DNS records. So I didn't actually register my site with Cloudflare, but I mean I didn't pay for the domain with them, but they have my DNS records, so that's what I'm going to do. So on Cloudflare, I'm going to set up an A record for LibreTranslate _subdomain, and then I'm going to put my IP address like that. So here I'm logged into Cloudflare, and this is my domain, exampleeshop.com. You're going to, of course, update based on whatever domain you have. And you're going to go to DNS records. And then what you're going to do is you're going to add a record, and in my case, I'm doing LibreTranslate _subdomain. But you can put this for whatever subdomain or domain you want. And this happens to be my IP address for the VPS. But again, most likely both of these are going to be different for you, so you'll need to adjust. You'll save this. And so now, hopefully the A record is pointed to the site for the website, but the website won't work yet. We still have to put LibreTranslate to run. Okay, so we're going to start up LibreTranslate again this time, and you can actually run it basically two different ways. You can run it like this, or you can run it like this and update it. I would mainly use this if you're trying to do complex ones, but we can use the similar command like before. LibreTranslate --host 0.0.0.0 and then port 5000. So this is going to be open to the internet, and then later we'll set it up to where it's not open to the internet. You don't need to use this, but you can if you want. Okay, so now let's see if both the IP address and the domain work. So this is running. Okay, now it's running, and now we're going to check these two things. The IP address, this should be accessible. And then we're going to check the domain. Okay, so the IP address is up, and make sure that you still use the port that you defined. I defined it as port 5000, but you can use a different port. And then now let's try out this LibreTranslate _subdomain.exampleeshop.com. So this is the one I'm going to try out, and again, you're going to edit it based on what your domain is, or your subdomain. Okay, amazing. Look, the website is up. And just to test that it's working, let's say, for example, from English into Chinese. Let's say I have 2 dogs. Okay, in Chinese, it says 我有2只狗. I have 2 This means 2 dogs. So it is working, and then let's try to translate that into Spanish. Tengo dos perros. And then German. Ich habe 2 Hunde. So it is working correctly. Very good. And again, notice this is the domain. Okay? So you can set up a domain for yourself. And this is also working at the IP address. But now I'll set it up so that it will only work at the domain and the IP address will no longer work. Okay, so we're going to close the server for now for LibreTranslate. So type Control-C twice. And now we're going to use a similar command, except notice that this says --host 127.0.0.1. So this basically means it's only accessible from the computer itself. It's not accessible via the directly on the internet. But we can access it basically indirectly through the domain. And we're running it like that. Okay, again here, we're doing it like this. We're going to run it like that. So it's a slightly different command, but it should still work for the IP address. Or not the IP, it should not work for the IP address directly. It should work for the domain. And now let's try out the IP address like this. It should not work, so it says it can't be reached. Fantastic. And this does work, and that is very good. The reason that we would want, for example, the domain to be accessible but not the IP address is it's much better for security, among other things, and it's easier to manage in my experience. Okay, let's do one more translation. I like to drink tea. I don't like coffee very much. Okay, me gusta beber té, no me gusta mucho el café. I think that's a pretty good translation. Café is coffee, and té is tea. Beber is to drink. This means I like. I think that's a good translation. Okay, and then the last thing is I want to set up the website so that it works all the time and you don't have to always run the command LibreTranslate. So the system does it automatically, basically. Okay, so now I'm going to close the server again one more time. So the website should no longer work. Okay, so notice how the website is not working. That is good because the server is down. I took it down. Now I'm going to set it up so that the server will run the LibreTranslate all the time, and you don't always have to use this command. It'll be done automatically. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a systemd service file, a new service file, and again in this I'm going to include an article, link to an article, and you can just copy and paste and edit as you want. So in this one, you're mainly going to just, you can do this exactly the same. And the main thing you'll need to change is the username. So in my case, my username is example_username in all these different cases, but you will need to change based on the username that you have. Okay, so again, we're going to open, we're going to use nano. I'm going to copy this command, sudo nano, and then you're going to do like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to copy this text in. So this is what nano looks like, and we're going to copy that text in. Okay, we're going to paste it in here like this. And then we're going to type Control-O, that means save. I'm going to hit enter, and then Control-X is exit. So we have just made a service file. And what this is going to do is basically auto start this so that you can have the website running every time. And then what we need to do is do these commands, and I'm just going to copy and paste them to save time. Basically, these 4 commands are going to set up the systemd so that they'll run every time. So this is going to reload it. This is going to start LibreTranslate, and it's going to enable it to start every time. And then finally, actually I'll run these first three, and then we'll see what the status of LibreTranslate is. All right, so again, I'm going to run those three commands, and you can copy and paste from the article that I'll include. Okay, so far everything's good. And then to check the status, I'm going to type sudo system control status LibreTranslate, like that. Very good. So this means it's running, and no major problems. So fantastic. And we'll check one more time. Let's just make sure that the direct IP address should be forbidden. You should not be able to access it, but you should be able to access the website. So we'll try it again. So the website works, fantastic, and it's doing the same translation. But if I try to go to the IP address, it fails. Fantastic. And this is optional, but I'd recommend that you try rebooting your computer to make sure that the server will work even after a reboot. And then once you're done with that and it works, then it should be good to go. So I'm going to reboot, and I'm going to test it one last time, and then I'll show you some additional things we can do to test. Okay, so again, I'm going to type sudo reboot now. And then after that, it's going to reboot the server, and then I'll try to log in again. So I'm going to reboot now. Okay, so I got disconnected, which is great. And then what I'm going to try to do is try to log in again. I'll wait a few seconds. I'll come back after a few seconds. It might take a few seconds for the server to restart, and I'll try to see if I can log in. Okay, so I just got logged into the server again, and now I'm going to just check the IP address and the website one last time. Okay, so I'm going to go to the subdomain, see if it works. Fantastic, it works, and then we're going to check the IP address one more time. It doesn't work, fantastic, and let's just test this to make sure it still works. We'll say, hello, how are you today? And let's see if I can put that into Korean. Okay, this says 안녕하세요. Fantastic. That's how you say hello in Korean. That's a good translation. And I don't know actually what this says, but I assume it's correct, or mostly correct. All right, so now I want to continue the tutorial. And by the way, I have two dogs in my room right now, so they might be making some small noises. Okay, so let's continue here. So I made similar code above. This was, for example, how you can directly work with the IP address, but now we're not going to have that anymore. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to work directly with the domain. So let's say the domain is this. So I'm going to show you some Python code. So the domain is this, and let's say beginning is HTTP. Later we can change that to HTTPS if you wanted. And then we have /translate, but I'm gonna try to generalize this. So we have, this is called an F string in Python. And basically what this code is going to do is it's going to access your domain. And we're going to use similar code. And we no longer need to use this because we're not going to access the IP address directly anymore. But and I don't think we need to use the port. So this means it's commented out. We can ignore it. I'm going to check this out. So the domain is this. Later you can change to whatever your domain is. And then the beginning, I just called this beginning. That's probably not a good name, but you can change it. The reason I did that is so later, for example, I could do HTTPS and I could keep that the same. I'm going to open up a new terminal, and in a moment here I'll show you with Spanish and German and Chinese. Let's start with Spanish, but let's first see if this is going to work. So we're going to open up a new terminal, and again we're going to open up Python. So actually, I didn't put some of the most important things in here, which was have the translation. So this is very important. The response, that's what actually sends it to the website. And then the translation, this is parsing the translation. So I'm going to paste this into Python. And let's see if it actually got a translation. Ah, super fantastic. Let me show you what the output is. So I'm going to zoom in on this here. What this says is 我想吃面包和喝茶. So what this is I like to eat, and these two mean bread, and this means and this means drink tea. So the original thing was okay, yeah, that means xiang is would like, or I want. I was thinking, I thought I said this can also mean I like. So this can have different meanings. But originally I said I want to eat bread and drink tea. That is the original one. So I want to eat, and then these two mean bread, and then this means and, this is drink, and this is tea. So anyway, that is a correct translation. And the really cool thing to me is that now we're using the domain directly, and we're using the API, which is very powerful. Okay, now let's change from Spanish to German. So the target language, the language code DE is for Deutsch, German. Oh, actually, the reason it was Chinese like that is because the last one was Chinese. But if yeah. Anyway, the way it overrid it. So we're just going to do it like this. So this should be Spanish now. I'm going to do the same thing, and I'll delete this to avoid confusion. I say I want to eat bread and drink tea. So I'm going to copy this and put it into Python. Now we're going to paste it in here. Okay, now let's see what the translation is. Quiero comer pan y beber té. I want to eat bread and to drink tea. So I think that's a good translation. And finally, we can try German, and maybe we'll try another one too. Let's try German. Okay, we're going to try German. Ich will Brot essen und Tee trinken. That's a good translation. This means I want bread to eat. Okay, in German, often the word order is different than in English. And und Tee, as this is tea, trinken. Trinken is to drink. Okay, I'll try one last thing. Let's try Thai, the Thai language. I think the Thai language is TH. I'll paste this in here. Again, I can't read Thai, but I'm pretty sure that's Thai script, and I'm going to assume that's a good translation. So I honestly have no idea. Okay, now finally I hopefully can try to demonstrate the power of the API. And again, like I said, you can literally do dozens or hundreds or even thousands of translations with the API. Here I'm just going to show, This is 7 sentences, and I'll use the API using similar code, and later we'll use pandas. This is something for data science or data analytics, but I guess we're not going to use it right now, so I don't want to confuse you. So here's what I'm going to do. Basically, I have a list, and this is a list of 7 sentences. For example, I have 2 dogs, and I like to play with them. My favorite food is blueberries, and I love Italian food and Indian food. I like to study Spanish. I'm a data scientist and an entrepreneur. I might want to get a PhD in Colombia or Chile. My favorite video game is StarCraft, or StarCraft, maybe I say StarCraft 2. I want to learn to speak Spanish well. And what this is going to do is this is going to go for each one of these sentences. It's going to send data to the server, and then what this is going to do is this is going to add it to a list. This is an empty list called translations, but later we will be able to see what's in the translations list. And currently it's set up for Spanish. So what I'm going to, and each time it's set up to give the current translation. So it'll print the translation each time, and then it's also going to add it to a list. So let's do this right now. So I'm going to paste this text in, and it's going to hopefully translate these 7 sentences. Not sure. Okay, let me fix the code here. Okay, it's possible that when I copied it, it didn't, the indentations were wrong. In Python, indentations matter. So let's see if I can try it one more time. This is a little bit annoying. Okay, so I'm going to actually install IPython. Okay, what I'm going to do is something that you don't have to do, but for the purposes of this video, IPython 3 is going to make it easier for me to do it interactively, so I'm going to install it. But this basically is very similar to Python 3, except it's better for interactive Python. Okay, I installed IPython 3, and this is going to make it easier for me to show you the interactive code. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to copy this code again one more time, and hopefully it'll work. All right, let's see if it's going to work or not. Okay, headers is not defined. Let me do that. Okay, so I didn't copy the headers correctly. Headers is back up here. I must have forgotten to... Actually, when I tested this code, I would run it one by one. So that's the reason why, but I'm going to do this again here. Okay, so this is the updated code, and again, I'll include the article. And actually, when I was testing it for this video, I used IPython 3 every time. I didn't use Python 3. So maybe that was part of the issue. Okay, here I'm going to type Control L. That clears the screen. I'm going to copy the text again, the updated text. Okay, fantastic. So look, it's just done 6 translations. This is translation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Remember, like I told you, there's a translations, a list, translations, and it should have all the translations I've made, okay? Like, tengo dos perros y me gusta jugar con ellos. Me gusta estudiar español. Okay. Quiero aprender a hablar bien español. I think those are pretty good. Okay, now what I want to do is show you now using it with pandas. So I'll copy the same one and I'll put it below. But now we're actually going to use pandas. And pandas, again, is for like data science stuff, data analytics. It's very useful. You don't need to understand it now. But what I want to do is basically take all of this these translations, and instead of just outputting it to the screen, we can do something very useful, which is we can write it to a CSV file, and that's just 7 translations. And here what we're going to do is I'm going to have the source sentences, so the original sentences. So the list of things to translate, that's the original. And then the translations are the actual translated sentences. And then what this sentence does is it's going to make a CSV file, and I'll show you the CSV file. So I'm going to copy all this text, and now this is where the true power comes in, is we can write it to a CSV file. Okay, here I'm going to run the code. And again, it's going to write it to a CSV file. It's not very useful actually just to have it in the console. Okay, I forgot to import pandas. Okay, for some reason it didn't copy it correctly. We're going to try this again one more time. Okay, so again, I'm going to do this here. I'm going to copy all of this and put it into the IPython console. All right, we're going to run it here. Okay, I don't know why it keeps saying, oh, okay. I guess the reason is because I actually didn't install pandas. So what I got to do is I got to do sudo pip install pandas. And what this is going to do is it's going to install pandas. Pip is one of the Python package managers. And so this is going to ensure that it's installed. And I guess sorry about that. So we're going to install this. Okay, I realized I had made a mistake, and I'm so sorry. I wasn't writing the code on the right thing. I meant to run it on my own computer, but I was actually running it on the server. And running it on the server, we do need to install pandas, but here I'm just going to run it on my own computer, and that was the mistake I had made. Okay, so I'm going to run the same code again, and I was actually running the code on the server when I meant to run it on my own computer. And I decided that I could just reset this whole tutorial, but I put a lot of time into this, and I just wanted to show you what it really looks like. So when you're doing stuff like this, you might make mistakes, and that's okay. I think people, when they just post something that's totally perfect, it doesn't look so realistic. Okay, so again here, my mistake was that I was actually trying to run this on the server, and that was wrong to do. So I'm going to run this on my own computer here. I already have pandas installed on it, and that's what the code is going to be. Okay, and I'm going to run IPython 3 again. I'm going to run this code. And again, previously I was running the code on my server when I actually meant to do it on my own computer for the Python stuff. So it was super fast then. This is probably going to be a bit slower because it has to connect. But the important thing is that in this code, it's going to make a CSV file, and I'll show that to you in a moment. So it's giving all the different translations, which is great. And importantly, let's see if it was now a CSV file was now created, and I want to show you what it looks like. Okay, and then this is the CSV file that was created. Notice it has source sentences on the left and translated sentences on the right. For example, I have 2 dogs and I like to play with them. Tengo dos perros y me gusta jugar con ellos. Ellos. I think that's a good translation. And again, the real power in using LibreTranslate, in my opinion, is being able to use the API. Now here there's just 7 sentences, right? We've got the header and then 7 sentences. And then you can get this. But let's say you had hundreds or even thousands. You can do that with your own server for free, which is fantastic. With Google Translate, there's ways to use I've made a video about Google Sheets, how you can do it with Google Sheets, but with Google Translate it's not guaranteed and they might want you to pay, but with this open source one and your own server you can do it for free, or at least you don't have to pay anyone. You're going to have the VPS, but to me this is a great way. And then to end this video, what I want to do is I want to make a version of this, but add another column to have the Google translated versions. Using Google Translate to get the translations, and I want to compare them. Alright, so again, I'm going to make a column. I'm going to translate all of these ones into Spanish, and I'm going to compare them in just a moment. Okay, here I'm going to use Google Translate, so I'm going to have English, and I'm going to translate into Spanish. Okay, so I'm going to copy all these and put them into the CSV. So these are the translations from Google Translate, and then we're going to compare. So I think, again, this is from LibreTranslate. For example, the first one says, Tengo dos perros y me gusta jugar con ellos. That's, I have 2 dogs and I like to play with them, here. And this is the Google Translate. I'll zoom out here. The Google Translate one is very similar, but instead of the number 2, it says dos perros y me gusta jugar con ellos. Okay, so they're basically exactly the same except for the number 2 versus dos. Me gusta estudiar español. Me gusta estudiar español. And these are, I think these are exactly the same. Mi videojuego favorito es StarCraft 2. StarCraft 2. Okay, so these are fantastic. Let's see here. Soy un. Let's see here. Is this de datos? Yeah, so there's going to be differences. I can't really see differences right now, but they do look very similar, and they're both very high quality. And to avoid making this video much longer, I'll end it here. So again, this video was about LibreTranslate, which is basically an open source alternative to Google Translate. Google Translate itself is very good, but it's not open source. And I showed you how you can set up your own website with LibreTranslate. And I'm going to include an article for this. And before I continue, there's one thing I forgot to mention, which is about the DigitalOcean. So let's say, for example, you wanted to delete your DigitalOcean droplet. I'm going to show you how to do it right now. Okay, so when you're logged into your DigitalOcean, you should be able to see something like this. And this is your droplet here. And you can also go under Manage and find under Droplets there. If you want to destroy it, basically that means get rid of the VPS. You can go here and then click on Destroy. And then here you're going to click on Destroy this droplet. And then the last thing is you'll do this. You'll copy it or you'll type it in again and you'll confirm the destroy. So what destroy is doing is getting rid of the VPS. So now the VPS is gone. I don't recommend you destroy this unless you really want to. But with DigitalOcean, they charge you by the hour, so you can basically use a VPS for however long you want, and I think you're charged by the hour, maybe by the minute, but I think by the hour. And so that, to me, that's super convenient. So now, when making this tutorial, now the VPS is gone and I no longer need to pay for it. So it's super convenient in that way. But most of my VPS, at least the ones that for my sites I keep up all the time. I just did this for this tutorial. And again, if you liked this video and you want to support me, you can go to this link. This is my affiliate link, onceatechworld.com/DigitalOcean, or you can scan the QR code and it will do go to the same link. And you'll see something like this. Okay, you should see something like this, and it'll tell you that basically you'll get $200 credit for 60 days, and you can use the $200 credit for free. I mean, you'll get the $200 credit, and then after the 60 days is over, the credit will go away, or if you use it up, obviously the credit goes away. But I've been using DigitalOcean for several years. I love it. And if you want to support me for this video, this will cost you nothing. You can just sign up through my link. I'd much appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe to or follow this channel. Thank you so much, and see you in the next one.